In the next room, a 22-year-old is signing his name underneath somebody else's. He is not being tricked. Not exactly. The form tells him who will operate. It gives a license number, a photograph, and a name. It's the name on the building. It's the name on the subway ad that made him come here in the first place. It is not your name. And in 90 minutes, your hands will be inside his face. You watch it through the little window in the theater door. The surgeon he paid for leans over him. Suit, no gloves, no mask, watch still on. He says the same 6 words he says to all of them. You're in good hands. I promise. The anesthetic takes the boy under. The surgeon straightens up. Then he walks out past you without looking up. You scrub in. Nail bed. Palm. Wrist. Forearm. Elbow. 2 full minutes, exactly the way you were taught in a teaching hospital that would not recognize you now. You back through the door with your hands up in front of you. Somebody ties you in. Somebody snaps the gloves onto you. And you take the position that man was photographed standing in. He was in good hands. He was. They're yours. In 4 hours, he will wake up, and the first face he sees will be the one from the ad, sitting on the edge of his bed, telling him it went beautifully. He'll thank that man. He'll leave a review with that man's name in it. You'll be 2 rooms away by then. Another jaw. Another form you didn't sign. There's a word for what you are. In Seoul, they call it dae-ri su-sul, proxy surgery. In the medical journals, it's ghost surgery. Nobody in this building says either one out loud. Here you're just the second pair of hands. And there is no record anywhere on earth that you have operated on a single human being. The work takes 5 things from you. It takes them in this order: your signature, your sleep, your hands, your nerve. And the last one sounds like a gift, right up until the day you need it: your alibi. The first one costs you nothing you'd miss. By the 5th, you will be standing 8 feet from a woman who has been in that corridor since 2 o'clock. You will be the only person in that building who was there for all of it. You will tell her the truth. It will not matter. Cost 1, your signature. Every operation generates paper, an operative note, an anesthetic record, a tissue log, a discharge summary. You write none of it. You have never once put a pen to a chart in this building, and that is not laziness. That is the product. Here's how it actually works, and it's cleaner than you'd think. He does the beginning. He greets the patient, he marks the face, he makes the first incision with somebody's phone recording it for the clinic's page. Then he leaves. You do the middle, all of the middle, the part with the bleeding in it. He comes back for the last stitch and the photograph. Add it up sometime. On a 6-hour case, the man whose name is on the consent form is physically inside that room for about 4 minutes. 4 minutes at the start, 1 at the end. He is not lying when he says he performed the operation. He is using a definition of the word that nobody in the waiting room shares. Money is the second thing you never sign for. You get paid in the scrub room at the end of the day by a man in a plain suit who works in accounts. $1,900. Cash. A white envelope with tomorrow's room number on the front in ballpoint. No invoice. No payslip. No line in any ledger with your name beside it. The clinic charged that boy $12,000 for his jaw. 3 years ago, you still signed things. Your name was printed on a rota in a teaching hospital. 4 cases a week, 2 mornings of clinic, Wednesday afternoons in a committee about theater utilization. You were good. Nobody argued about that. You were also 38 years old and cutting less in a month than this building gets through before lunch. A man took you for coffee and used the phrase consultancy arrangement. He didn't lead with the money. He led with the list. 11 a day, every day, and not one committee anywhere in the building. You knew exactly what he meant. Everyone does. That's the part nobody admits. So no. Nobody had you over a barrel. Nobody ever does. That is the thing the stories about men like you always get wrong. They didn't buy your desperation. They bought your appetite, and appetite is cheaper and it does not run out. That's the first mistake. Not the operating. Thinking a door you can walk out of isn't a door. Because here's the thing about this trade, and every single person in it works it out in the first month. Hands don't have names. A jaw doesn't heal better because the man who cut it is famous. Bone doesn't check credentials. The tissue closes or it doesn't. And once you know that, the signature starts to feel like paperwork. That is precisely what it was designed to feel like. Cost 2, your sleep. Look at the waiting room and do the maths on it. Every one of those people booked the same surgeon. The face on the wall. 11 of them today on his list. 11 operations. 1 man. 1 pair of hands. That is what 11 people paid for. It is not what 11 people are getting. So the clinic does what any factory does when demand outruns the machine. It buys a second machine and doesn't put it on the sign. You start at 6. You finish when room 4 is empty. Between cases you eat standing up, in the corridor, out of a paper bag because the staff room has a window onto the lobby and you are not supposed to be seen. Some nights there's a second building. 19 miles across town, a different name on the door, the same arrangement, a different envelope. You drive it with the window down in February so the cold keeps you awake. You have operated on people in 2 cities in 1 day. Neither city has any idea you were there. Your phone shows you the clinic's page sometimes because the algorithm has worked out what you look at. Before and after. Before and after. 400 of them. Your work. Every one of them. Your angles, your closures, your suture line hidden inside the hairline. His face in the corner of every single picture. In March, he wins something. Aesthetic Surgeon of the Year, awarded by a body that counts outcomes. Outcomes. The one thing in this arrangement that is genuinely his. You made them. He owns them. You watch 4 minutes of it from the service door. Then you drive home and you're back at the sinks at 6. Cost 3. Your hands. Nobody warns you about this one because the men who could warn you also cannot admit what they do. A facial osteotomy has a tolerance of about a millimetre. Half of that if the patient is thin and the light is good and you are being honest with yourself. Half a millimetre is the whole job. At hour 9, your hand is a hand. At hour 13, it is an instrument with a fault in it. You notice it first on the calipers. The tips are open 41 millimeters and they will not sit still. A beat, small, regular, about the width of a pencil line. The pencil line is the difference between a face and a court case. So you start taping. Athletic tape, wrist to mid-forearm, tight enough to hurt because a joint that can't move can't shake. You take ibuprofen like mints. You stop drinking coffee after 2. You learn to brace your little finger against the patient's cheekbone so the tremor goes into his bone instead of into the blade. Every surgeon your age has one of these tricks. Yours is just load-bearing. Here's the honest version. You will never say it out loud to anybody. You are the best surgeon in this building, and you are being used at a rate that will destroy the only part of you worth anything. You cannot slow down. The only reason you are in this building is that you are fast. The day you are merely good, you are a liability with no paperwork attached to it. Nobody fires a ghost. They just stop writing a room number on the envelope. Step out of the room a second. Why does anybody allow this? The woman who books this list is 26. She has a spreadsheet with 11 rows and 1 surgeon to put in them. Nobody in that office is a monster. Nobody there has ever written the word ghost down. It's a rota problem with a body on the table. In 2016, a 24-year-old in Seoul named Dae-hee had a routine jawline operation at an advertised clinic. He bled. 49 days in a coma. He died having lost close to a gallon of blood. His mother, Na-geum, got 7.5 hours of theater CCTV. She watched it more than 1,000 times. The court accepted that parts of her son's operation were done by an unqualified nursing assistant and an intern, while the surgeon named on the consent form was not in the room, convicted of involuntary manslaughter. 3 years. Her campaign became a law with her son's name on it. Since 2023, South Korea has required a camera in every operating room where the patient is unconscious. The first country on earth. You have never told anybody what you think about that camera. Cost 4. Your nerve. Room 4. Last case of the day. A jaw reduction on a boy of 19 who came in with a photograph of somebody else's face and asked for it. Park says the same 6 words to this one that he says to all of them. Then he's gone. You have done this operation 400 times. You are 14 hours into a shift. Nobody took a proper history off this boy. Taking a history is the surgeon's job, and the surgeon did 4 minutes. So nobody wrote down the 6 grams of fish oil a day he has been swallowing since March for his skin because a magazine told him to. Fish oil thins blood. Not dramatically, just enough. Every surgeon has a line. A point where you stop, close up, and say, "Not today." In a hospital, stopping is a decision. It gets written down, discussed, and defended, and then everyone goes home. Here, stopping is a confession. To stop, somebody has to explain who decided to stop. And the man who is supposed to have decided is in a car on the expressway. So you do what everyone in this room has quietly agreed you'll do. You keep going. Oozing, not bleeding. Pressure will hold it. 20 more minutes and this boy is in recovery and you are in the car. You were wrong. It comes up around the gauze in a way that oozing does not. Dark, then bright, then fast. You call for suction and it is already in your hand. You call for the clamp and the tray comes at you sideways. The monitor changes its note. Everyone in the room hears it change. The anesthetist starts reading numbers out loud and the numbers are going the wrong way. The nurse runs, not walks. Runs out through the doors for blood. Your gloves are red to the wrist. Your forearms are red. There is a smear on your mask where you pushed it up with the back of your hand. You have both hands inside a 19-year-old and you are winning. The doors go. Park is in the room in a suit, in the shoes he drove in, no gloves, no mask, hands clean. He takes you by the arm above the elbow and pulls you off your patient. You go back into the tray and it goes over. The calipers and everything else hit the floor and skate. Because if this becomes a death, the man on the chart has to be the man at the table when the clock stops. From the floor, you watch him glove up. You watch him take your position. You watch him find the vessel 11 seconds slower than you would have. You are the only person in the building who can see that. Your hands are still red and there is nothing in them. Cost 5. Your alibi. The boy lives. That matters, and you should know it now, because almost nothing else about that night is going to feel like relief. He lives because a nurse ran, and because someone had 2 hands inside him for the 4 minutes before the door opened. Nobody will ever write that down. The operative note gets written that night. Surgeon, Park. Assistant, none listed. Complication, intraoperative hemorrhage, controlled. Time of control, 21:14. At 21:14, you were on the floor with a caliper under your knee. Every word of that record is a lie, and not one word of it is false. That is what a good alibi is. Understand what you now have. You cannot be sued because there is no note anywhere in that boy's chart in your handwriting. You cannot be struck off because the last rota with your name printed on it was 3 years ago. You cannot be investigated. There is nothing to investigate. You are the safest man in the building. And you cannot be thanked, and you cannot be asked, and you cannot ever be believed. 20 minutes later, you go back in through the steel door with the code on it. And she's in the corridor. His mother. She's been there since 2. She's standing 8 feet from you, waiting for the surgeon to come out, and she's holding the consent form because somebody told her to bring it. The name on it is not the name of anyone who touched her son. She asks you if you know what happened. Not the doctor. You. Because you're the one in scrubs and you're the one who looks like he hasn't slept. And you tell her, all of it. Fast because you have been holding it for 14 hours. The vessel, the pressure at the moment it went. The 6 grams of fish oil nobody wrote down because nobody took a history, because taking a history is the surgeon's job. How long that room was on its own with the doors open. The 11 seconds. She listens to every word of it. Then she says thank you. Then she asks whether you'd let the doctor know she's still waiting. That mother in Seoul had 7.5 hours of tape. This one stood in a corridor and heard the whole thing from the only man on earth who was in the room. A man in scrubs with no badge on him is a kind nurse being reassuring. She never registered a claim. There was nothing there to disbelieve. 6 weeks later, the review goes up. 5 stars. Dr. Park saved my son's life. I watched him come out of that room. It stays at the top of the page for 2 years because it is the most emotional thing anybody has ever written about the clinic. The coordinator catches you at the doors and puts an envelope in your hand. Room 2, 7 in the morning. You don't ask whose name is going on the form. You have never once asked. And this is the part they don't have to warn you about because it is the reason none of them ever leave. You could walk. Tomorrow. There is nothing to hand back. No badge, no locker, no key. Except that walking means saying out loud where you have been for 3 years and to whom and how many. Every operation you did well is now evidence against you. Your alibi doesn't just protect you from them. It protects them from you. Hands don't have names. You believed that for 3 years and it was true the whole time, and it turns out that isn't the same as it being enough. Those calipers have been under that table since the night it happened. Nobody has picked them up. You picked them up. Of course you do. There's a room like that one in Seoul, in Istanbul, in Miami, and you will go your whole life without seeing inside a single one. If you'd like to keep seeing inside them, subscribe. Somewhere tonight, in a theater with no camera in the corner, somebody is scrubbing in under a name that isn't his. 2 boys were told they were in good hands. Both times it was true. Both times it was you. And there is not one page anywhere that says so.